Hello and welcome to today's content, which will be talking about the new unit, Lameiga, since he has been released in terms of the Dark Selection Quest unit. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Now, for abilities, since Lameiga's main job is going to be the Pugilist, as a base unit, he's going to get Shifting Strike, Iron Body Stance, Wicked Pummel, Demon Purger, and Pugilistic Mastery. Keep in mind, he does not have a limit break because he's a Selection Quest unit, unfortunately. From here, for his EX abilities, this is mostly going to be due to his Steel Paw Stance, which you can see if you look at right below Shifting Strike. What this is going to be an upgrade version of Iron Body Stance, which is going to turn into Steel Paw Stance. And what this is going to do is going to change all, well not all, but Shifting Strike and specifically Wicked Pummel so that they have physical barrier break on them as an added effect. So he can just easily just pierce through physical barriers and just start doing damage very quickly. Outside of Shifting Strike and Wicked Pummel, however, his new EX ability is going to be Vengeful Earth, which is, I have it kind of on the same line as EX upgrades. As you can see, it says Ignore Float. It does 165% modifier damage, however it can go up by 45% as an AoE ability in a straight line. And lastly, his upgraded Demon Purger is going to turn into Wrathful Purger, which is going to have an additional effect of lowering defense by 30 outside of the additional damage effect. So it can hit very, very hard if properly set up. For his sub-jobs, as the Pugilist sub-job, he's going to get Breathing Technique and Spirit Breaker. For Samurai sub-job, most importantly here, in my opinion, will be two things, which will be specifically Oborozuki as well as Illusion. Oborozuki is that not only is it like a decently good damage modifier, it can also inflict slow. And from here, Illusion is good because specifically for Lameiga is that his evasion is actually something that you have to watch out for if you're going to be facing him or using him. He will need to be using evasion. And lastly, we do have the Dual Gunner sub-job, which most importantly is going to be Dual Trigger or Smokescreen. Smokescreen for evasion, or Dual Trigger for very high damage double 2 shots of missile. So yeah, as you can see, he does have 3 different damage typings depending on what sub-job you pick. Now let's take a look at his resistances and passes. For his damage types, he's 10% to slash, negative 10% to pierce, 5% to strike, 10% to missile, and negative 5% to magic. As you can see, overall, he has no strong resistances, but at the same time, his only real quote-unquote weakness is going to be pierce, which I know Oberon is coming out literally very soon, but I mean outside of that, he overall has actually not bad resistances and not amazing resistances either, so it's overall not bad. He has 0% AoE, 0% single target resistance, and at level 120, Master Ability included, he does have a base of 10 defense and 0 spirit. And his resistances to statuses, 50% to Frostbite, 50% to Charm, and 10% to Confusion. From here, you can see, obviously, he is kind of more based towards a class match type of unit. The reason why is that Frostbite, as a lot of people know, is pretty strong and very overwhelming. However, the amount of sources we have for Frostbite is not many, as well as it doesn't affect, well, it does affect mages, but it doesn't stop mages fast enough compared to other units. Additionally, the Charm, I know there are some Steel Charm cheese out there, however, they're very low in amounts due to how much RNG it is. However, in terms of class match and or live manual play, it is very, very useful to have. For his master ability, it's going to just be the Mono Dark, as well as an increased evasion rate for himself. He is a 3-move, 2-jump unit as 80 cost, and 80 cost is very nice because of just cost limitations. He will be very useful and sufficient in being efficient cost. I don't know why I just used a whole bunch of big words like that, but yeah. But he is, since he's not a 90 or 100 cost, he does have that advantage. For his passives, what I highly recommend, I will say do not ever take this off, is going to be Tune-Up. Tune-Up specifically is going to be for the agility as well as the defense penetration. Most importantly, the agility here, and I will explain why on the next slide. From here, if you want an evasion, which I highly recommend, Blade Soul is going to be a very good passive because you want to boost up his evasion. If not, if you just kind of want to try and put him as a bruiser type build, a Warrior Spirit is good as well. For Niche and Flex, Flurry Enhancement, I know increases accuracy, but I'll be honest, the other effects are kind of much better, especially because he needs more damage in general. You're not particularly going to be using him specifically to fight evasion units. There are way better units that can do his job much better and reliably. Missile Master is going to be really if you want to go for that dual gunner setup if you really want that, but I wouldn't highly recommend it because his hardest hitting abilities are going to be his Pugilist main job abilities that can hit very hard. For his reaction abilities, he has Flurry Counter, obviously also the upgraded version if you have Flurry Enhancement for the passive, and then Third Eye and Predictive Fire. From here, I would either pick Flurry Counter, only because of the high base chance of it activating as well as it being literally strike damage, or Third Eye if you just want that extra evasion if you do happen to get hit. And here is Lameiga's rating out of 5. In the end, I decided to give him a 3 out of 5, and that also means that he does not have an example slide on the next slide, because there is no next slide. This is the last slide. But yeah, in the end, I decided to give him a 3 out of 5. Overall, I think he's a decent unit, especially if you don't have Venera or Rune Stern in terms of evasion. However, he does lack significantly stats as well as a unit overall on what his kit should be or could be. And that's why in the end I did give him a 3 out of 5. I think he's usable, however he definitely has clear weaknesses that a lot of meta / competitive teams can easily take advantage of. But yeah, outside of that, let's talk about the pros first. So first off, he's able to become a good HP evasion DPS with increasing damage returns over time due to his multipliers increasing if he does happen to take damage. Literally, he has an ability which I have on another pros is Wrathful Purger, which if it does reach the highest potential is a 285% damage modifier as well as on top of a negative 30 defense debuff, meaning he can literally do insane damage if the conditions are met. Before that though, I will say he has a good HP for a DPS, decent attack, and very high luck stat. This means he can be very evasive and have decently good accuracy as well. But he has very low agility, so keep that in mind. He has access to strike, then either missile or slash attack types with high damage modifiers, so he can literally have 2 very good consistent damage attack types. From here, Wicked Pummel and Shifting Strike gain physical barrier breaks with Steel Paw stance, so that buff is very good to have on for him in terms of just breaking barriers. He's able to be close to Venera's evasion potential. If you put the exact same things on them, he is comparable to Venera's evasion. I will say his evasion is not good enough to be same as Rune Stern. I believe it's close to like 17 or 19 evasion difference, which is pretty significant considering how important it scales in terms of evasion. So yeah, he won't be as evasive as Rune Stern, however he is very evasive on his own. He's able to also have a base of 40 defense penetration with his passive, or just use Wrathful Purger to lower defense, so he can pierce through defense heavy tanks very quickly. He does have also Illusion or Smokescreen on Subdrop for even more evasion. I will say Smokescreen will be insanely good for himself because it increases off his defense that he already has a decent base amount on top of evasion, or Illusion for himself and maybe a possible teammate if you wanted to use it for that. Now let's talk about the cons. He has no spirit, he has decent defense as we said earlier at least. However, he has no strong base resistance to help survive against hard hitters. And what I mean by hard hitters is going to be like Elena, even like Rune Stern himself, Dwayne, Helena as well. He does not have enough tools by himself in terms of base stat to reduce enough of that damage to not be close to being one shot, unfortunately. As well as that, his base attack stat is low. For some reason, Pugilist / Strike DPS in general have a lower base attack stat or total for some reason. Kind of like Tifa, who also kind of struggles to hit 1k attack without a very offensive setup. Lameiga is kind of the same. He kind of struggles to hit 1k attack without Maiden, Maidens of the Rose vision card, I believe. Sorry about that. That can increase his attack by 20 or 30%. With that vision card and Fist, he will be hovering around 1k, but he can't get any higher without significant setup. So it's I guess they're trying to work off the strike attack, but I mean there is a issue with that situation as well. But we'll talk about it very soon. Anyways. His barrier break is going to be based off his self-buffing with Steel Paw stance, meaning if he either gets dispelled or does not buff up with this specifically, then he doesn't have a barrier break, unfortunately for him. Additionally, I didn't write it here, but I have to say at the same time as this, he does not have very good AP generation abilities besides his Pugilist stance mastery that he has to use as a team buff. Outside of that, he will need belts because he has decently expensive abilities that need to have AP to use properly. From here, he has no self-mitigation abilities outside of defense, and he has to shift towards evasion in general for his survivability. Because he has 0 spirit and even his defense isn't like crazy high or anything, he should be working towards evasion as well. Additionally, his HP, I know he has good HP, however, in terms of good HP and very good HP compared to like Oberon, the example is that Lameiga is almost 700 HP difference from Oberon itself, and then their base amounts is close to like 400 difference with Lameiga being lower. So as you can see, he's really, if you want to push for the Bruiser narrative, he is nowhere close to the tier of Oberon, and you have to have that type of HP value unless you will be dying very quickly. And because he is not a Dragoon, Lameiga himself, that means he does not have access to the Azure Dragon armor to further increase HP percentage even higher. So yeah, he really does not have the HP pool to even be a proper pugilist unless you're going against some more easier opponents that are not really like properly set up, unfortunately. Now, ironically, his damage modifying scaling abilities, it needs Lameiga to be hit. But as an evasion build, because he has very high luck, he won't be taking consistent hits if he is an evasion build, which is one of his almost only good survivability options. So it's really ironic how it's set up like this, that he survives by not taking hits and he misses. However, his pugilist job abilities all scale for more damage if he takes hits. So it's really unfortunate to how that was designed. I don't know what Gumi was doing when they purposely made this. Unless they made it so like if he's targeted by attack and it increases, that would have been fine, because even if it misses, it should work. However, because you have to actually take damage, it's gonna be unfortunate for Lameiga in that situation. And yeah, innately he is weak to magic attack types with 0 spirit and negative 5% magic attack resistance. Obviously, if you have the Omega Vision card with this, it kind of like solves it pretty easily. However, this does mean that Helena, Yuna, and even Halloween Leela will enjoy destroying Lameiga in terms of damage, because if he's not properly mitigating against those significantly, he will be taken out very easily. And I specifically put Halloween Leela here because she does have holy attacks, light element holy magic that she can use, because it's on her main math sub-job. I mean her main job as a math girl. So yeah, he really has to worry about most relevant magic users in general, and that are like, he's not gonna be an exception to be surviving against those, especially even as an evasion unit. Now, he also has very low total and base agility, which makes Lameiga struggle against faster units even with his tune-up passive. Without the tune-up passive, he has literally 57 agility. That is close to Engelbert, and people know Engelbert is a very, very slow turtle, and he is very close to it. With the tune-up passive, he at least gets to 63, but even with a 15% agility boost for himself, because of his low base agility already, he is always going to be slower than most like units in general. So yeah, he's a very slow unit. This does not help that he only has 3 move, 2 jump, because he does not even move very far, and most of his hard-hitting abilities do need close range. He's also going to be vulnerable to disable, paralysis, and stop, so all the auto / like relevant status elements, he's not going to be really well kitted against them to resist them. So yeah, he has to watch out for those. Additionally, he has no 100% hit abilities, means RNG dice throwing events will start happening against the other evasion units. He does have a passive for 20 more accuracy. However, because his base attack is already low, because I don't know if it's like a pugilist or strike damage DPS thing, but yeah, you don't really want to lose more damage in terms of a little bit more accuracy. Also, I will say, I mean, it could be possible that his high luck and accuracy, like accuracy passive, will help him against evasion units in general. However, it's not going to be guaranteed. Like, it won't be, unfortunately. He also has very short ranged attacks for his high damage abilities. Outside of his dual gunner subjob, dual trigger still hits very hard. It still hits very hard, like as an ability itself. However, his highest damage abilities will be close range, 1 or 2 tiles away, pugilist main job abilities, which he has to be in range. If he gets picked off even before, then I mean, dead DPS do not do any DPS. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, in the end for Lameiga, unfortunately, in terms of meta and competitive play, Lameiga struggles to keep up with it. However, he has a very decent kit in terms of class match, live PvP, and tournaments in general. However, he's going to be easily outclassed in almost everything he can do in terms of damage, which is going to be Venera and Ruinstern that can easily deal more damage than him. even if it's slash, if they have at least the Maidens of the Rose vision card that they can get slash resistant penetration, or even the Exorist for slash penetration, they can easily make up for slash resistance in general. They can easily deal more damage. Survivability, Runestern has way more evasion, like by far way more, and I believe it's called Blood Pact for Venera is going to be insanely good for her as well in terms of just survivability overall. Lameiga does not have the exact same tools compared to those two. And yeah, in terms of combo synergy as well, a lot of combo synergies for Dark especially is going to be not only Black Rose Helena using her own vision card, Dwayne either using the Diablo one or the Omega one for either like HP and slash damage. Lameiga is gonna not make usage of everything very properly. So yeah, there are better alternatives to him by far. However, if you do not have any other good Dark units, he is not a bad replacement at all. Like he's still usable and good. He does, however, have good versatility in terms of damage types. Like he can use strike and missile or strike and slash. It's really up to you. And covering two attack types is rough. Covering 3 types is even worse. Like it's much harder to do. I will say, however, even though he's versatile in it, it isn't going to be new to the element for Dark, and it already has a hard matchup against relevant light setups. You know what light element has? Smite the Dark vision card for luck and evasion. You know what that has? Strike resistance. What do you know? What does Lameiga have? He has strike attacks, which is going to be mitigated by Smite the Dark, which is specifically good against evasion slash being evasion itself. So Lameiga is going to struggle there. And then slash and missile in general for the light tanks, they are already resistant to those in general, and it's not hard to raise those resistances overall. So even with Lameiga's quote-unquote like, kind of like versatile setup against the light, which he should be going against because Dark and light kind of have like this inter like battle between them forever, like he struggles significantly against relevant light compositions. So yeah, overall Lameiga is going to be a 3 out of 5. I do think he is an alright unit, especially because he's also free and he's a selection unit. Yeah, by all means go for him. I will say though, if you do like keep up with the meta or like you're a more competitive player, you don't really have to do much for him in general. Like there are better alternatives. And lastly, let's talk about his TMR. So TMR chase rating, I give it a 2.5 out of 5, and here's why. The name of it's his weapon, the lightweight steel fists, which is gonna be knuckles pretty much. Fist type is like same thing. 166 attack is good. It's very close to the Kaiser Knuckles. 8 accuracy, alright. 8 crit rate. I mean, they're just a little bit extra stat. Most importantly is gonna be here the accuracy 20, which is gonna be a sub ability accuracy 20. I will say, however, if you're going for accuracy in general, either the Alex ring or the white marshmallow with the accuracy 20 sub ability already on top of 15 to 20 accuracy on the item itself are better alternatives than this. The only reason why this weapon got like a 2.5 out of 5 rating instead of a 1 out of 5 is that it is a weapon TMR slot that it can take if you want to use different abilities or like different setups. However, you do have to keep in mind, especially for Lameiga, like specifically, he does not have very good AP generation, and he does not have AP, like acquired AP up abilities, so he does need a more better TMR setup in general. But this is just helping in terms of like setups. But yeah, in the end, this is what Lameiga is going to be for me, 3 out of 5. It could be potentially better for other players, but I just don't see him having too much of a too much of a force to reckon with, and not being too much of an issue either in terms of just facing him overall. Like I'd be pretty confident in facing him with my current team, like just in general. I would not have to worry too much. And yeah, we've come to the end of the video, and yeah, if you liked it, please leave a like and or comment, and until the next video, peace out.